Hey, hi everyone. This is Shantha here. I hope all of you are doing great. So, I came across this book on Bharatanatyam called Shall We Dance, and it has about 25 chapters. And I thought it's good to introduce and talk to the author to understand more. So, stay with me and let's learn more about all these 25 chapters which is in the book. Hi everyone, this is Shantha here. Now, as we delve deeper into the book on Shall We Dance, let's talk about the first chapter and hear it from Ram. Ram, please welcome.
Thank you, Shantha.
So, let's talk more on your first chapter of this book, right? So, Ram, can you tell us why is India also known as Bharat and what is the connection between music and dance?
Oh, wow. That's again a loaded question since you started grilling me from the preface part. So, if you look at India, the way the definition itself is, so it's India that is Bharat. And there is a beautiful book by Sai Deepak where he talks about the cultural existence along with the geographical boundaries, and that would be the way it should be identified as. The moment you say India, it is just a geographical piece of land. But the moment you look at the culture part, there is fine arts, from where music is connected, dance is supposed to have been ideated, and this is going back in time, millennia, from a way it is flourished, matured, and the civilization is so old, it actually catered to the ability of a whole generation of artisans from different performing arts to pretty much take the rule and take it to the masses. So that could be one definite way of looking at it.
That's nice. And what is that importance of the Vedic text in our in defining Bharat?
Oh wow. So I don't know if you have heard of this beautiful author called Diana Elk,
Yeah,
and she talks about
sure.
India, a sacred geography,
Yeah.
where she talks about the defined part of what is India, and she goes back into Manu and the Vedic times and the way the whole particular sacred geography of India has been flourished, is being celebrated by the rishis, as they would call it, and there's a beautiful word called Aryavarta. And that Aryavarta is possibly the one which says India is a piece of land which is between the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea from the south, and to the north, which is below Himalayas. That was literally called the land of the gods. That's one
That's
way it's been explained.
wow, that's nice. And I heard the word you termed as Aryavarta, right? What exactly it is? What is the significance of it?
So interestingly, this word is found in multiple texts when you go back to reading. There is Manusmriti where it basically talks about, there is a Bauddhayana Dharma Shastra, then Vashishta Dharma Sutras. You will possibly find there is Patanjali who's basically written the Mahabhashyam.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this sacred geography, I mean, it's a Western audience who possibly introduces as a sacred geography, but then Aryavarta, the origin from a Sanskrit word, and again, it's basically got an etymology which goes on to describe a lot of greatness about the civilization.
Okay, that's interesting. And we keep hearing the word of Natya Shastra often, right? So how does this Natya Shastra connect music to the dance?
Okay, so if you were to think about music and dance, our origins goes back to Bharatanatyam as they call it, and in a later part of the conversation we'll possibly cover, this is also referred to as the fifth Veda. So Natya Shastra pretty much is more the dance drama, the theatre part of it, which is all influenced by day-to-day lives of individuals. And Bharatanatyam has gone and codified this as Natya Shastra. It became known in Bharatanatyam in a form, it's only one part of Natya Shastra. So that's possibly how the whole piece goes back to it.
Okay. And now coming to the most interesting topic of Bharatanatyam, right? So what is the history of Bharatanatyam?
So Bharata Muni is supposed to have composed Natya Shastra in the Sharda Peetham. Historically, the evidence goes back to something like 600 BC, but my reading is that possibly there is not enough to disprove that it did not exist earlier. Absence of a proof is not supposed to be the only way we look at it.
Absolutely.
So this goes back a few millennia.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the Kashmir region of India where the Sharda Peetham is.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, it basically transcended across the whole Gangetic plains and went into multiple parts of it. And as you will basically see that it's being called different things in different places, with Bharatanatyam being the mother of it.
Okay. And now that we understood about Bharatanatyam, can you explain what is the significance of Natya Shastra?
So Natya Shastra, it's possibly an origin of the way the dance drama is. But since you are restricting the question to Bharatanatyam, what happened is, as the particular form of dance moved down from the northern part of the country to the southern part, it literally got crystallized into the way we know it today as going back to Rajaraja Chola during the 10th century and 11th century. So it originated in its current form and shape and size. There is the Tanjavur quartets, they call it,
Yeah.
and that is basically the way the Natyam and the Natya Shastram, Bharathamuni wrote it to encompass a lot part. But Bharatanatyam is more an origin from, I would say, the gift from Tamil Nadu.
Okay, that's interesting to know. And now that we know it's about 2000-year old, right? So could you just explain how this Bharatanatyam evolved during the British rule?
Oh, even before coming to the British rule, what we should do is, if you look at the Tanjavur temple, the Brigadishwara temple, Rajaraja Chola has actually had the stone edicts which talk about the Devadasis. I mean, the Devadasis were basically given a very bad name with the British.
Yeah.
That too during the movement of the church with the missionaries. Initially, it was basically people devoted their life to the art form and they were part of the temple. So they actually danced only to please the gods.
Yeah.
By the time it turned around the 1890s, it was given a very bad name, and then they associated the Devadasis and desecrated the way the word should be. Connotations were taken to what would be outcast from society, from illogical way of assigning names to it. And then going back to those particular times, the British actually, they said this should not be done in the temples.
Yeah, that's really a very sad
Oh, you know what?
part. Yeah.
And one thing which I forgot to tell you was, there is one of those lawyers from Tamil Nadu called Krishna here, who basically fought and he was jailed for it. And during the 1920s, there was another great lady who had come down to stay in India. Her name is Rukmini Arundel. She later goes on to form the Kalakshetra. So very influential individuals like Rukmini Arundel and Krishna Iyer. There is a couple more names which basically contributed to the rise of it.
Yeah.
But
I
that was
think
a
those
freedom.
were, yeah.
The times were bad and they thought they should be banished.
Yeah. And these were some of the revivalists who helped to get Bharatanatyam back into practice, right?
Mainstream.
Yeah.
And if you look at the way Bharatanatyam has taken off from their 1930s, and Kalakshetra was possibly set up around that particular point in time, this has been India's moment or the century where Bharatanatyam is revived and it has now gone to all parts of the globe.
Absolutely. And how is it practiced today, Bharatanatyam?
So today Bharatanatyam, the way it is practiced, there are technical nuances to it. So you will find that there is a long journey for a dancer when she starts practicing. Again, going back, there is a Guru Shishya Parampara which talks about it. It takes the form of formalized method of doing it, but there are some contemporary methods of doing it. What they have done is they have adapted it to the styles that is demands of the time and given it the flavor of how it can be accepted into the way the whole parts are. Interestingly, I must tell you that in countries like US, there is one university, MIT, and in Oxford, they have been using dance to teach mathematics.
Wow.
Using the algorithms that they basically go about.
That's something which I didn't know. Yeah.
And I think we should basically appreciate the endeavor of the gurus that came out of Kalakshetra, spread out into multiple countries, and that I would think should be the primary way this particular art form has been kept alive.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot more details are in the chapter 1.
Yes.
Now I think the readers are very curious to understand more on history of Bharatanatyam.
So
thank you, Ram.
Readers, look for chapter 1, and I think Shantha, you just nailed it. We need to understand the history of Bharatanatyam before we even go further.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Ram.
having me.
Thank you, Ram. Thanks for your time.